discussions about the London market and the challenges facing insurers. I'm Anand Patel, Director within the London Market Consulting Practice. Today I'm joined by Jonathan Audrey-Smith, Director, Head of Operations and Underwriting, and Hasata Subasinghe, Head of London Market Pricing. What should the London market be doing in terms of progressing its portfolio management capabilities?
I think for me, one of the key opportunities there is making better use of the data they've already got. A lot of carriers have got a lot of data in one form or another. Is it at the right grain? Could it be better? Absolutely, but they have got a lot of useful data. Making sure that's surfaced in an effective way to underwriters. And I think portfolio management needs to be delivered in the right way to the underwriters. It's not just a central function, which some companies have approached it as. For me, it's something that should be live within the underlying day-to-day decision making. Yes, it's directed by whether it's a central person or a central team or individual team leaders. That's critical that it is directly linked to the underlying decision making. So I think making sure that flows as a natural process, but I think for me the other key opportunity in it is making sure it's forward-looking. I think a lot of the time, a lot of the portfolio management we have is looking at what the loss ratio was, looking at what decisions have been made, not looking at the next 6 months of renewals, looking at where you want to be in 2, 3, 5 years' time with this portfolio. How are macroeconomic, microeconomic impacts in that particular industry going to impact you as you move forward? I think there's a real danger we focus only backwards because it's what we can quantify more easily. I think we need to be focusing, looking forward, because to be blunt, in insurance, that's long gone. The decisions you make today, you're going to find out whether they're a good idea in about 3 years' time, or longer, depending on the class of business. So I think that future focus is critical to that portfolio management opportunity.
One of the issues of portfolio management is that it's got this one size fits all kind of all classes thing, because it's mass-produced portfolio management dashboards and structure. One of the powerful things would be to identify an adverse feature in the portfolio and then to address that and then to demonstrate that it's gone right or that action you took has a good outcome. So it's very few and far between in the marketplace where I've seen portfolio management being implemented in such a way that it shows the feature that's gone wrong and then it shows, here I have corrected it, and here's the outcome that it's corrected. And there isn't enough flexibility in that portfolio management frame that they're building, dashboard or visualization or whatever, that helps somebody articulate that. And I've also noticed that depending on the structure where you are in the company, like let's say you're the underwriter writing the business versus actuary who wants to see a chief versus technical versus chief underwriting officer who wants to see KPIs, suddenly the structure of the portfolio management, it changes. And it doesn't, there's no design thought given to all the different types of users in that. And there isn't a design thought given to trying to understand the features of the business that people want to manage. It's very powerful, but it's just not utilized in the most appropriate way. So I would like to see more of that in the London market. There are people who do it, but a vast majority of them just have mass-produced solutions.
And do you think that portfolio management is understood within insurance carriers? Yeah, I think kind of you touched on the point in terms of having different users of that information, whether that's your underwriters, your actuaries, your board level members. There's different requirements. Do you think portfolio management is understood as a concept in terms of what it should be delivering for businesses?
I think it varies substantially. I think there's some companies who've naturally embraced it, or more to the point, have been doing it by default because that's how they ran their businesses for years. They may have been doing it in a more kind of a paper-based way, for want of a better description, but they've been focusing on what they've been writing, how it's been developing, what's the emerging opportunities, as well as what are the emerging threats. for a long time. And I think, but the flip side of that, I think there's a load of companies out there that haven't really engaged with it, potentially a paid lip service to it. I think there's a bigger opportunity to help those businesses, because I think they're having that real understanding of what your portfolio is and where are you taking it, and how does that link through to your corporate strategy, coming back to that link between CEO and frontline team. Portfolio management is a key part of that linkage, and making sure that we're focusing on delivering the portfolios in the way we want to, but it's forward-looking all of the time. Absolutely, the past needs to be understood. It's critical to the process, but if we only ever look at what's happened, we're likely to miss the next opportunity and the next threat to our business.
It gets a bit more accentuated where an insurer or an entity has to articulate themselves really well. For example, like MGUs, MGAs, and delegated authorities, right, where they have to articulate their portfolio management and their risk features and how they underwrite to their capacity provider, right. There, I've noticed there's a lot of emphasis on portfolio management and being able to show which features are good, which features are bad, and any corrective underwriting action they take, how that plays out. So when it comes to that kind of stuff, I've noticed, MGAs, MGUs, delegated, they tend to either want that feature in a big way, i.e. want portfolio management properly, whereas on a company side, I think it's less so because they don't have to demonstrate with the same rigor.
Why do you think MGAs are better capable at adopting portfolio management standards and integrating that within their business, but established carriers find it more difficult?
It's a size thing, right? So companies are big. They think big solutions are generic solutions whereas an MGU might be a bit more specialist, so they can tailor.
Is it that? Or is it potentially, because I'm an MGU, I need to be able to make the case for the portfolio I'm underwriting is something that you should back on an annualised basis. I'm kept, to a certain extent, honest by an annually renewable contract or a regularly reviewed delegated authority, that I need to be able to demonstrate why I've made a decision, that if I can't, and particularly when things haven't necessarily performed as perfectly as they might have done, you're onto a situation where you don't have capacity for the following year. So I think there's an element of that need to support, to provide answers to if things aren't going to plan, but also demonstrating that you're focused, sort of a horizon scanning, going, where can we do this better? How can we move it forward? And therefore, Mr. Carrier, Mrs. Carrier, can you provide me some capacity for the future coming years? If I can demonstrate that great understanding, I'm going to find it a lot easier to gain capacity than if I'm sitting there going, oh, we made a loss, did we? Well, on that note, though, what's your take up to this point, Anand?
I think there's a fear that because you're a big organisation, that it's harder to implement good portfolio management because you might have a number of systems, legacy systems, and therefore the challenge is too great, and therefore I think people kind of withdraw themselves from that. Whereas I think every time we've seen this and where it's done really well is where people pick a particular problem, they narrow down on that particular problem and then develop the solution for that particular area. And what you then tend to find is actually there's a lot of commonality between what those problems are. Fundamentally, people want to just find out where are the better performing parts of my portfolio, where can I be more aggressive, how can I expand my business. They're the fundamental challenges, and actually there's a lot of commonality in terms of those questions, and therefore there's commonality in the solution. But rather than trying to identify that commonality across all of your systems, all of your technology, it's much easier to pick your main priority areas, your biggest wins, develop the solutions there, and then see what else can actually take benefit of it and build it out in a modular way.